All right, guys, welcome to the presentation today. This one, once again, I went back in the archives to find some fun stuff. But honestly, this is maybe one of the best designs that I've seen in a long time, and maybe one of the best ever as far as you really want to explain what you have going on. I think we can dumb a lot of our stuff down to having a lot of stress in our lives, and a lot of people don't talk about this. But we have emotional, we have chemical, and we have physical stress, right? Those are some of the basics things that we have going on. So I apologize, but you're just gonna have to follow my little cursor as we go on here. But right here, you have this big arrow called stress. And we'll just kind of go through all of these things. It's going to take a little bit of time today, but I think you're going to find some things that you maybe didn't understand why things were happening to your body. Maybe you have weight gain. You want to find out why you have weight gain. You want to find out why you feel like you're getting older and you shouldn't be. You want to feel why you have brain fog. You want to figure out why your gut always has a problem. These are all things that we're going to talk about today. So let's get to this. Stress right here creates decreased DHEA. All that does is essentially stress hormone is required in order to make some cortisol, this other big box up here. We use a little bit of DHEA. DHEA is going to create these effects down here, just helping you interpret this chart. So as your stress goes up, your DHEA goes down, and you're going to have a suppressed immune system. You're going to have increased body fat. You're going to have increases in insulin resistance and an accelerated aging process. So essentially what we're saying is stress is going to create all of these problems. And that's something that everyone comes into the office and they say, oh, doc, I want to support my immune system. I go, well, do you have anxiety? Are you hypervigilant about your health? Are you worried about everything you eat all the time because you think there might be a toxin in it? Are you watching politics or the news or following current updates and a lot of things that stress you out every night? Are you generally a relaxed person? So if you're a stressed out person, then you're going to have that first effect of that decreased DHEA. I call it the stress lifestyle because one of the things I like to focus on with my patients is teaching you to realize that you've created a stressful lifestyle. So if we were to go back to the time when there was maybe no lights at all in the world, maybe you were living by candlelight. Generally speaking, it was better to wake up when the sun came up and go to bed when the sun went down. Maybe you'd stay up for a couple hours in the social hours. But in general, you followed that typical circadian rhythm pattern. Nowadays, we don't follow that at all. And it's not just waking up, eating some food, spending time with loved ones, and then going out to work. It's really like there's 400 emails, 52 of them are spam. Maybe they're even from me. And then you learn about something about your health and like, oh, I don't know what to do about that. Now I got to call a doctor. Now I got to go figure that out. All of these things, life is very, very busy and life is very, very stressful for most people. So it's important to create the unstressed lifestyle. We actually have to focus on that now. Before you could get by with just going and working and things like that. Now you have to actually create a lifestyle that has less stress in it. And this is one of the hardest things to do, so it's one of the things that takes time. All right, let's go back to stress. Stress increases ACTH. ACTH comes out of the brain and it helps you to make more cortisol or adapt to stress or create problems. Okay, so let's get how many people come into my office and say I have trouble sleeping, so disrupted REM sleep. I don't feel rested when I wake up. Even if I sleep 10 hours, I still feel tired when I wake up. Okay, increased cortisol, so we need to manage that cortisol. Decreases intestinal flora. So the research here is kind of weird, but it's a little bit, it alters it as well as changes the composition, which leads to the standard leaky gut that everyone comes to see me for. Okay, we already talked about decreased immune system. With a decreased immune system, what most people don't know is the immune system is one of your major detox pathways. It's not an actually detox organ, but it can bind and kill and eat and kind of blow up and inflame things until that they're able to kind of get through. Okay, delayed tissue healing, right? So if your immune system isn't working right, then all of this stuff has to stay around in your tissues for longer. You can't get rid of the inflammation because it's still trying to take care of something. Come back over here. Decreased protein synthesis, decreased bone formation. Okay, with an overgeneralization here, at least traditionally over the centuries, maybe women have more worrisome thoughts than men, and you'll find that women also have decreased bone formation more than men. Now, of course, that has a lot to do with lifestyle, and we could talk about all that, but all the stress leads to decreased protein synthesis, decreased bone formation, and a general status of catabolism. So And I want to go back over now if we go to the left side of this. So it talks about hypermetabolism. So you may think hypermetabolism is going to boost my metabolism. Technically, it does in some ways. But the effect of long-term hypermetabolism or long-standing increased metabolism is that you don't burn fats very well. So you ever wonder why? Once again, kids aren't stressed, adults are. You look at this, you say, okay, why am I putting on fat when I shouldn't be? I eat clean. I'm already on a paleo diet. I'm already doing whatever diet it is. Okay, so when we're stressed out, it really doesn't matter what you eat. So you end up in this autocatabolism mode. Catabolism means that you're breaking down your own tissue. It means that you're in a general catabolic or breakdown state versus the opposite, which would be anabolic, which would be a growing state or a repairing state. So with this stress, you're always in a breakdown state, and this is pretty much where everyone comes into the office, breaking down, and we actually have to reverse that process to a building up. And one of the things that happens converts protein to carbohydrates. Get tons of people these days that are doing a carnivore diet, and they're like, I don't know why. I lost some weight at first, but now I'm gaining weight. Well, that's because your body's converting all your protein into carbohydrates. One of the things people are doing right now is doing that combination of carnivore diet plus intermittent fasting. And it takes a healthy body to do that. If you come into that diet when you're already in a catabolic state, you're going to have some real problems as far as trying to look as good as the guys on the internet or the girls on the internet that do well, because they go into it with a certain health profile. So you got to get to that health first, and then you can play with that combination of extreme carb restriction as well as intermittent fasting. So many people are making intermittent fasting mistakes right now. Okay. What else do we break down? The gut lining, the muscle, the ligaments, the tendons. You feel old, right? Your knees hurt, your elbows hurt, your shoulders hurt, all of that. We're breaking our body down. We're in a catabolic state. And of course, breaking down your pretty skin makes you look a little bit older, but everything, including your organs and your heart, everything is aging at an accelerated rate when we have this high cortisol. All right, let's come on back. Decreased thyroid function, okay? Everyone these days has decreased thyroid function. It's not optimal in most people. There's a few people we find that actually have decent thyroids, but not that many that are great. Doesn't mean you need to take a medication. We need to optimize the body so that thyroid can function optimally again. Decreases glucose transport to the cell. So even if you have just a few carbs, it's going to go straight to places you don't want it to go. And it decreases your cell's ability to manage glucose. Essentially, you become insulin resistant because the cells don't know what to do with so much glucose. It's not getting into the cells, not being used for energy. The muscles are slowly falling apart, or in other words, breaking down. As they're breaking down, it can't use the glucose anymore, and you end up being a little bit more heavy than you planned on being at this age, whatever your age is. Okay, so it increases gluconeogenesis when blood sugar drops. So if you have any alteration in your blood sugar, you're going to have a problem that stems from the liver. That stemming from the liver ends up creating all kinds of fun cholesterol numbers too that you don't want to deal with. Counters the influence of allergies. Okay, so that's a good thing, right? Cortisol should counter the allergy effect. You want cortisol when you're in high stressful situations. But if these are chronic, right? If you always have high cortisol, then you have liver problems. If you don't always have high cortisol, then you're going to have liver changes. Okay, increases stress. That's the goal of cortisol. You have stress. It makes stress hormone for you so you can be all stressed out and react to the situation. Remember, in an ideal world, what we're talking about is you're reacting to the stress that shows up every once in a while. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you have to heighten your senses a little bit or slam on your brakes, or the old school analogy was that you were getting chased by a bear, but I don't know many people like that anymore. But I think your boss walks into the room and you don't like them very much, or you know that the job's not done, but it was due today, and then it stresses you out, increases that cortisol, increases these catecholamines, epinephrine and norepinephrine. Just think of these as like adrenaline. That whole group we can think about as adrenalines, but it increases them. And as it increases them, then you get stimulated. So you actually see a hypercortisol response in a lot of people that have heart palpitations and things like that. So I would guess, and I missed this whole side over here, decreased cognitive function. Okay, you have brain fog. Okay, so you have brain fog. Everyone comes in with brain fog. Then all of a sudden they have anxiety or emotional instability. They get panic attacks. Okay, number one cause of panic attacks is a sudden drop in blood sugar, which then creates this epinephrine, norepinephrine response. and then all of a sudden you can't calm back down. Your liver has to detox some of these things. Your body has to detox it through different mechanisms. Here's the anxiety. Obviously, like more mild anxiety would be like more of a mild blood sugar, increased cortisol, whereas a severe panic attack, which can be debilitating, would be extreme cortisol levels or extreme adrenaline levels. And then decreased memory. Okay, everyone talks about decreased memory. Really what it is decreased cognitive function. So nothing in your brain's working that well, but you just notice that your memory is leaving you. And that scares people, of course, which it should. But the emotional instability, sometimes it doesn't scare people. Sometimes we live with it. But either way, the thing to know here is if you look at this stress lifestyle and what you've been doing to yourself by filling up every minute of every day with information or with activities, even if it's good things like exercising or walking or hiking or whatever you're doing for your own health, you can be too vigilant about it. So it's important that we design an unstressed lifestyle. We get rid of the things that we don't need. We keep the things that are absolutely important to us, and we kind of prioritize what we do in a day rather than trying to accomplish everything in life at all times.